Hello. This is recording good. Northstar here with another Cell to Singularity Let's Play. I made it to the top 100. That doesn't happen often. Guess I spent too much time talking last time and should have just called it quits earlier. I guess I don't have a ton to say today. Although, I mean, a ton new. I will say, I did finally manage to track down some stuff about a job at work that the IRS is missing tax info for, which I think it's ridiculous that me, just an ordinary person, can track down more than the IRS. I mean, basically, I looked up the company I used to work for, found the dead phone number had the name of someone, turned out to be a manager who came in right after I left there. He, I think, had met me briefly, like one day, and he remembered me. Called his current employer, where he'd moved to. They were able to get him on the line very quickly. Spoke to him. He had the name of and phone number currently of the owner. Turns out I actually had an email from that guy. I just didn't have any identifying info in my emails that let me know, searching, not remembering the guy's name. Anyways, tracked it all down. And while I don't have the financial information yet, it looks like the issue is that I started working in 2014 for this company, but they didn't get my first paycheck till 2015. It says I feared it might have been. Um, I started working a couple weeks later, and I thought I had. Like right around the time of Christmas, when I thought it was closer to December 2nd, when the guy first reached out to me about working. But, these things take time from first contact to starting work. And because of that, even though I did work in 2014, both not enough of the work was in 2014, and I think all of it counts all the way to its 2015 payroll taxes. So maybe the IRS even had that info. The person I spoke to just didn't check 2015 for records in this employer. So maybe they already had the info the whole time. It's what happens when you get bureaucrats who are in a rush and don't really want to help you too often. They don't check, like, okay, we have no records of that employer in 2014, but we do have them in 2015. Are you sure you have the right year? Because I worked from December, it's very easy for this kind of thing, to get mixed up. Anyways, because that probably didn't give me any work credits in 14, and I already had hit the cap for 15, and because work I did for university that I was a student at was exempt from Social Security insurance, because of a law that Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich, those fuckers, helped create in the 90s that lets universities not pay into payroll tax of student employees, including grad students, as long as they're, quote, primarily a student. Even if, like when I was TAing, I spent nearly half my time as a TA. I was working so much, they screwed me a variety of ways. It was always supposed to be signed for 10 hours a week, but they ended up having me work as much as 23 hours a week most of the time. They manipulate and abuse my contract in various ways. So I spent almost as much time working as a student because I think I was also getting credits for the TAing, technically, which is another way you can abuse this rule. Meaning I was always like, I think 8 credits of classes that weren't TAing, like the other four credits for TAing. And if it was 10 hours, it would have been 4 credits, but it was really, as I said, it was really more like twice that. So it was really more like I was doing 8 credits worth of TAing and 8 credits worth of classes. And my role was barely more student than employee. I thought it was weird. They got very weird about my surpassing a certain hours amount. It's probably because they would have had to pay in payroll if I worked more than a certain amount of TAing a week. And they weren't telling me because, they wanted to screw me, not, explain what was going on. But yeah, because of that, and because they don't give you any credit for grad school itself, because of periods of employment, because the government doesn't provide any help with, say, like moving from where you finished grad school to where there's jobs in your field, which is a huge issue in the sciences. If, like me, you finished grad school in a rural area where there's no jobs in your field, I counted family helping me move to the area, suburbs outside a major urban area where they live, but they reneged on that deal, and I got screwed and stuck for a while until I saved the money to move my own. Um, and I borrowed less in student loans than I could have. Otherwise, I could have just had a war chest to move on my own. So, because I've been taught to be afraid of getting too much debt. So, yeah, it's a fucked up system. And it doesn't have to be this way. I keep pointing this out because it's a contrast to what could have happened in the U.S. If the U.S. had been more willing to learn from the Soviet Union, they had a system where when you finished undergrad or grad school, you could go wherever you wanted in the country for jobs. You There was like a lottery system. You took final exams, and the final exam scores plus your GPA give you like a composite score, not all dissimilar to the way, say, Army or ROTC in the US ranks cadets by like physical fitness scores, GPA, and leadership scores. So there's like a three-part composite score, similarly in the Soviet Union for like academic achievement, and your academic achievement score ranked all the students in the country for a graduating year or semester. And they or quarter, I'm not sure exactly what the time frame was, and they would let people with the top scores pick anywhere they wanted to go, including the Soviet Union or Warsaw Pact, and they would help them relocate. So a lot of them chose to move to the Baltic countries and live near the ocean, working high-tech jobs. That the Soviet Union actually developed a lot of high-tech economy in that area. Um, Relatively high-tech for the time, not like high-tech by today's standards. Higher tech, more high-tier manufacturing, like making like plane parts instead of, you know, agriculture or whatever. I don't know exactly what, but I do know there were a lot of better paying jobs in the area, and the Soviet Union put their best students there, and that created racial resentment. There's a whole issue. Um, and then mid students would have a chance if they rolled a good lottery number based on their academic achievement score. They would get to go where they want. If they didn't, they'd have to take what was left. Of course, nothing stops someone from moving on their own. If you could put together money to relocate on your own, it was harder because most like housing, low income housing, was provided by the government free of cost. There was housing that you could pay extra for, but good luck affording that right out of college. So it would have been difficult to relocate without the assistance program, just as it is in the U.S. today. Difficult to relocate without like a lot of money. If you don't have family you can stay with or such, and you need to move across the country. So some problems appear in advanced economies over and over, whether it's the Soviet Union or US. But the Soviets had a program to try and deal with this problem. Is the point, and the US hasn't even bothered. It's not even just the US and Soviet Union. Spain, which is a capitalist country, mind you, that actually had Franco for a while. Spain has like apprenticeship programs that fresh college grads they'll help people move to like where their jobs and get them like subsidized employment for their first year after college. They call it an apprenticeship, harkening back to like medieval apprentices. And I mean, I think if I remember correctly, the government like pays part of the paycheck, and the employers paying the less than the equivalent of minimum wage for the workers. This is to help fresh student graduates get their foot in the door. I don't know if they still have this program, but they used to in Spain. I mean, Italy used to also have a program that helped people form workers' cooperatives if they were on unemployment, and they could find like 6 other people to band together. And I'm pretty sure that doesn't exist anymore because the neo-fascists took over in Italy. They probably got rid of that program. But at one time, Spain had this program. So it's not just a U.S. and Soviet. It's not just a Soviet thing that I'm saying the U.S. could have copied. They could have copied Spain's version, which was actually better than the Soviet in some ways. But no, we screw over people. And I get screwed over by those periods of employment caused by being in a rural area and not where there are jobs in my field and taking longer. Because employers kept telling me, you're overqualified. You have a graduate degree. If I employ you, you'll just leave like a year later, which they were correct, by the way. The job I did end up doing, I left almost exactly a little more than a year after I started. So they were all right that I wasn't going to stick around, that I was overqualified, and that I was just trying to save money to move. And I wouldn't have even denied it if they sat me in an interview and asked me if I planned to stick around. I'm like, no, I don't plan to stick around. In fact, I think I had an interview where I said that and they didn't get hired. So I didn't lie, which I could have done, maybe, to get a job, but I don't think it's good to start a job on a lie. um, so my own honesty screwed me over too. But yeah, the bottom line is this. I'm fucked. I don't know what I can do if really and honestly the system is not giving me the work credits because the work I did in 2014 didn't pay me till 2015, and my university employment was exempt from payroll tax and all these other things. I can try and challenge it, but the fucking judges like, screw you if I take it all the way that far. They have no interest in the fact that the rules as written fucked me over on technicalities basically, and I did everything I should have to, be a hardworking contributing member of society. I actually even did research on viruses that if the US had funded viral research better, it could have probably continued and might have actually helped prepare the country better for COVID. The virus I studied had ability to evade the immune system somewhere the way that the coronavirus does. By the way, nasty virus, even if you don't get long COVID, your risk of heart attack is higher for the rest of your life if you've ever had COVID. Your risk of stroke, dementia, diabetes. It's trying to have a lot of nasty after effects. So, mask up, get vaccinated, get your boosters. I did mention in one of my other videos, this channel Socialism for All. It's good that the guy does a shout out to long COVID, and it's one of the reasons I mention his channel, and it's good to go watch him. But he's incorrect about saying that he was saying that the vaccines aren't, that they don't give booster shots as vaccines a new vaccine. No, it actually is a booster in the sense that you lose immunity over time when you get a coronavirus vaccine and you have to get another shot. Yes, it may be against different strains of the virus, but it serves the function of a booster as well. And the new new vaccine will also still revaccinate you against the old strains of the virus that are still going around. So it's not just new strains; it is a booster, which is why the physician workforce and the government literature refers to it as booster, because it is a booster. The guy was just wrong saying it's not a booster. But yeah, get your COVID shot, get your boosters for COVID on the regular. And yeah, mask up. N95s, surgical masks don't do much. They're better than nothing, but they still don't do shit compared to an N95 in protecting you. Because they're apparently a lot cheaper, those masks on Amazon, than they used to be. I'm going to have to go buy some for family I live with who won't wear better than surgical masks otherwise, because they would give them surgical masks at work now. And that doesn't do crap. Well, I mean, it's better than nothing, but it's still not enough protection. Since I'm living with an older family member who, if they got COVID again, they could, end up dead. It's important they mask up. And if I got reinfected with COVID, it made long COVID worse. Yeah, I don't know. The government's screwing me over. The welfare system has been steadily undermined. As I said, that safe harbor law that was created in the 90s, that's what fucked me over more than anything else. If that law didn't exist, I would be able to get disability. It's a law that Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich worked together in the past in the 90s. They also, those two fuckers also worked together to cap the number of physicians we train in the U.S. and a lot of other nasty so-called compromises that screwed ordinary Americans. I personally, I was trying to become a physician. I can tell you that we don't train nearly enough physicians. The number of physicians we train in the U.S., including DO programs, which are not really accepted by the rest of the world, grows about 1.5% a year in terms of seats. Number of residencies grows slower, so more and more people go through MD or DO programs and can't get a residency. So the residencies, I think, only grow like 1.5% a year, and the demand for the physician workforce grows at over 3% a year. So there's a greater and greater shortage of physicians, which just drives salaries higher and higher, which makes medical care less and less affordable for people. This is partly because the population is aging, and old people need to see a doctor more often. And there's just no avoiding that. It's not their fault they're getting old. the government could have foreseen this, and in fact did, but let the American Medical Association pull out this bullshit of claiming we're headed towards a glut of physicians, which they've since apologized and said they were wrong. But since the whole thing was it was a lie told of malice, just saying, "Oh, I was wrong," shouldn't be enough here. Saying we were wrong and now that they advocate for training more physicians, it's too little, too late. There should have been some consequences for the lies they told. A lot of people are going to die because of that, because of lack of access to medical care. And rural hospitals close down because they don't have enough physicians. They can't fill staffing needs in budget. They would have to pay more to fill their staffing needs than they can afford because there's a physician shortage, and the physicians will just demand higher salaries than the rural hospitals can manage. So and this is made worse by, insurance companies paying hospitals as little as they can get away with, and drug companies charging a fortune for necessary medications to run a hospital. So, hospitals are getting squeezed from every side, and then we're talking like the little rural hospitals, and then you have the big urban ones that form these like monopolistic networks, and they're just as bad as like the insurance companies a lot of the time in terms of screwing people over. And they find ways to undermine the little community hospitals too. So, I said I didn't have much to say, but I guess I always have something to say. Check out my other Let's Play series. I'm going to cut this video in a second. I'll be trying to do some more Hearts Iron 4. I'd really like to do some more Starbound, but it's hard to work up the energy to start a new series. It's not really new since they did 3 multiplayer videos. But to continue it in single player, which is kind of a little different, and get around to, I have to reorganize stuff. I got a lot of storage to work through and existing outpost colonies to kind of redevelop and make, less. They're too crowded. I have too many tenants in my colonies, and I can't find where anything is. I need to fix that, remove some of the tenant deeds, and I had some quests for some of them I wanted to finish before I did that because I'm trying to get more crew members. And you probably don't know what I'm talking about if you don't play the game, but you do quests with NPCs. One of the easiest way to get access to NPCs is to have tenants, like renters. Yeah, the game pushes you to be a filthy landlord. But and a very greedy one will put people in these barely lit boxes with one torch in the wall and dirt walls, and walls made of dirt brick, a torch, and maybe a crate or a couple crates so that they'll spawn as merchants around generic NPCs. And that's their entire, they don't have a bed or a toilet. Yeah, it pushes you to be a scumbag slumlord. But I wanted to recruit some of those NPCs into the crew of my starship, and then pull some of the deeds and create more spacious, less cramped and ugly housing. And then just go explore. It's a really cool, fun game, Starbound. And so there's that, and there's my Hearts Iron 4 game. I did another session. What's going to end up being a 2-hour video that I'm going to cut in half, so it's going to be 2 1-hour videos of that. Got to the point of the U.S. Second Civil War breaking out, and then called the video at that point because I was just lagging because I had done a single player Hearts Iron video earlier that day, and I was exhausted. But yeah, I still have a 1-week buffer on the multiplayer game, so you guys won't even notice. It'll be a week till I'd run out video uploads currently going on, and then I have 2 more, and I space them 2 or 3 days apart, so I've got videos uploading for that for the next 2 weeks, basically. Almost 2 weeks. But I should do my single player game. Recently learned Earl Bowder, guy who's the communist advisor for the US, was a piece of shit. He was racist, and basically tried to reconcile racism and the U.S. history of genocide with communism, which those things do not go together. He was he was a political opportunist, scumbag politician. Almost makes me want to do anti-communist raids, even as I'm trying to take the U.S. communists in the game, just to like theoretically put him in jail for a while for being such a piece of shit. I mean, that's obviously not right. Um, but it's a game. You do things in games you wouldn't do in real life. And it doesn't even make sense in the game because the communist path leads to desegregating the South and like ending a lot of racist practices if you go communist as the U.S. in the game. And yet Earl Browder like made excuses for the history of Native American genocide and slavery. Of course, maybe there's other communists in the government besides him. He's just the one who's your advisor. Still, I would, like, if I were FDR, I would not have wanted that guy in my administration. Piece of shit. Bowderism is to this day still straining communism in the United States. And you see it with like the ACP, American Communist Party, and stuff. These guys are like Nazi bulls. They are literally what some people might call red fascists. They're racists and don't hold views that are compatible with mainstream Marxism. And they try and like reconcile like MAGA with communism, which those things do not go together. So it's basically like it's fascism. It's what it is. It's not socialism at all. That's fascism. That's like Hitler proclaiming to be a socialist when he was in fact a fascist, and nothing he did was remotely socialist. Yeah. Bowder wasn't quite that bad, obviously, but he had some very questionable views. Though it reeks of political opportunism, and like he maybe didn't really believe some of the things he said, he just said it to try and boost support for Marxism in the U.S. in an era was just much more racist than today. Still not okay by today's, ethical standards. But yeah, my Heart's on 4. Sleeper, I've done some videos of. I think I still even have a buffer on those, so look out for more videos than that. I'm not mistaken. I think there's one video left to upload before the buffer is done, like it's scheduled. I'll have to check. Starbound. I might do some Software Inc. Some from the depths soon-ish. Starbound apparently is roughly similar player base to some of the things I've been streaming, so I could pick up some more subscribers that way, hopefully. Hope some of you folks enjoy that game. Did I say Starbound? Software Inc. Brain. Software Inc. is an interesting little game, and it's still in alpha. Or no, I think it's in beta now, but it's progressing out of early access very slowly, but it is progressing. Well, I wish you folks the best. Take care of each other. Be kind to yourselves. May always find guidance. Start a video home. Sayonara. Now, for real, I think I said all this before, but best wishes.